So hello and welcome to Irish Football Fan TV. I'm Cian McGrath. I'm here with Gary and Ger, and we're going to be talking about the IFFTV Irish Team of the Year. But first of all, Gary, how do you find in the lockdown?
Good. I'm glad you came to me before Ger. We're doing this in order of importance, obviously. No, good.
It does come for eating the alphabet, so. For a second there.
The same as everyone else, really, just bored. I'm happy the weather's nice at least. Anyway, I've built football goals in my back garden. So kind of reminiscent of that. Do you remember that Nike ad from years ago, the cage?
Oh yeah.
A bit like that at the moment. It's just kind of just waiting for all this to lift, and hopefully the restrictions can do their thing over the next couple of weeks in those phases and stuff. How are you keeping, lad?
Not too bad now. I've college exams at the moment, so this is a nice little break. I'm doing the Cork City quiz later, but just entering. No hope of winning, but trying to keep busy. Finish exams on Thursday. Not sure what I'll do afterwards, but like I said, like you said, bored out of my brain. But I usually am this time of year anyway. How about you, Ger?
Not keeping too bad. I've been back home in my native Scotland for the last couple of weeks, so working away from there. So I'm probably fortunate enough to come from a farming background, so there's plenty to kind of do around the house and farm that I suppose can help keep busy, pass the time. Like Gary, good weather's helping getting out a bit more, getting your exercise and your activities in and all that. Just kind of doing that, I suppose. Watching, reruns. Watched the Italian 90 game last night between Ireland and England. It was weird. Apart from little clips of highlights and stuff and packages and shows and goals, it's actually the first time I've properly sat down and watched Ireland play a football match in Jack Harrison. And I would certainly agree, we didn't really fall into an attractive team to watch, but no, it was still good. I still got a bit of a buzz and excitement from Kevin Chili's goal, great goal. But it was just even weird when watching the game and talking to the mates, even though it wasn't a pretty game. You can't really say England actually done an awful lot in the game themselves. So definitely Ireland would be quite happy with that. But just kind of trying to keep them passing time and all that. And Cian, lose that attitude that you're not going to win the quiz, because I'm pretty sure that's what Leicester City said before August 2015.
Well, you were talking there, Ger, about sexy football or non-attractive football. But you look very groomed at the moment. You're looking like a man who hasn't been isolating. Have you been down the barbers or something, have you?
Don't know what's wrong up there now.
Pleading the fifth.
But all I'm saying is there's plenty of back roads in Scotland, as you know yourself from living that low and riding border.
I do, of course. Right, so this is going to be the tough bit. That was the introduction, the easy part, and now we're going to get. Now it's going to get aggressive. We're going to get mean with each other, and we have to pick the Irish Team of the Year, which is daunting, actually, isn't it?
Yeah, especially when kind of sometimes you can choose based off honours if someone wins something, but we're kind of having to actually look at their performances, seeing as pretty much none of them have won anything so far. Few positions harder than others, some hard for the right reasons, some hard for the wrong reasons, but I think we haven't seen each other's teams, so we'll have to, I suppose, go position by position and see who our shouts are. So we haven't all agreed on a formation either, so I suppose will we just start with goalkeeper? I assume we all have one of those.
Yeah, I presume what we'll do is we'll pick a team like we're the manager, is it? So yeah. We're all combining our best traits into one manager and picking a team, so we can go from there. Well,
we didn't pick our own traits and see who's the best manager.
You're the media man anyway, Jerry. You have that going.
But it's just interesting that you mentioned about picking our team. Well, it's interesting because this weekend actually was meant to be the final weekend of the regular season football league. It's very weird. First Saturday in May, like today should be the day for the drama of who's going to get the last playoff spots or relegation and all that. So it's kind of fitting and trivial as well. But it's nice to do that because a few of my players as well, but nearly half the team come from the football league. A lot of really good young Irish prospects and a couple of players in the fringes of the first team there as well. Suppose we get the ball rolling then and go with goalkeeper then?
Yeah,
go for it.
This was kind of a weird one. I kind of ended up picking this player more so because I think no one's really kind of stood out, and particularly because I think Darren Randolph will probably admit due to injuries and move to West Ham, it probably hasn't been the best season for him. So I've gone for Cian O'Hara at Burton. Of course, we'll be familiar with him, obviously, made appearances for Ireland and then friendlies against Bulgaria and New Zealand at the tail end of last year. But for a team that's mid-table in League One and Burton are just outside the playoffs, he still had a pretty decent season. He's had 42 appearances, 33 then come in the league, 12 clean sheets, 9 of them in the league, 54 goals conceded, probably not the worst. He had a good season last year with Macclesfield. He won a lot of their Player of the Season awards. Unknown from Manchester United. probably third or fourth pecking order Manchester United. You consider obviously De Gea, Romero, and Dean Henderson are known from Sheffield United. So it's probably unlikely that he's going to get a real good look in with Manchester United. But I suppose goalkeepers do tend to have long longevity. Look at Darren Randolph, and he was a similar age in his early to mid-20s. He was in League One with Charlton, then went to Motherwell in Scotland. So still plenty of time for Cian O'Hara as well. We do have a lot of good young goalkeepers, but the likes of Mark Travers and Craig and Kelleher haven't really seen that much game time. So I think for me, given the fact that Darren has only made 2 appearances for West Ham, he missed a couple of games for Middlesbrough from November to January with injury. Middlesbrough haven't quite a poor season. I think even with Middlesbrough, he only kept 2 clean sheets compared to keeping most clean sheets in the Championship last season. So for me, I think it was in the end, it kind of ended up being a little bit of an easy enough choice to pick Cian O'Hara. What about yourselves, lads?
I went with Cian O'Hara first as well. I had a look through all the keepers who've been included in the squads, and he was the only one who was actually, I think, first choice. Even Kieran Westwood's time at Sheffield Wednesday has kind of been cut over the last season or so. I do agree. I think Queevy and Kelleher probably deserves a shout in terms of just broke onto the scene, but when I looked at his actual statistics, he didn't play that many games. He was on the bench a lot for Liverpool when Alisson was injured and then Adrian for a while. So, and in the games he did play, I think he played in that match where they got absolutely spanked by Aston Villa in the League Cup. So when he did get game time, through no fault of his own, it wasn't always ideal. I had Randolph down as well, and I agree with you on that. I also saw Sean McDermott, who was included in a squad under O'Neill. He plays his football in Norway, I think I'm right. He came through at Arsenal, and he had a great season last season, but his season was due to start in March. It's been delayed now, obviously, so he hasn't gotten back playing first team football. But maybe another kind of outside shout for someone that the Irish keepers could keep an eye out, or the Irish setup could keep an eye out in terms of keepers.
Yeah, I agree with you. I was gonna put Randolph in. I think I will still go for him. I think what didn't help him is the fact that in January there was obviously all that stuff about him moving to West Ham and stuff like that. Not for him personally, that he's delighted that he's happy out. He's back where he wants to be. He's not getting game time, and maybe if he had that 2 months of football that they did play, then he could be in that team. But I'm happy to go with O'Hara for our first choice goalie.
So that's a fairly easy choice. Just we have a question in the comments asking if we're going off club form or for country, and I think we're pretty much all in agreement we're going solely off club form this season, nothing to do with Irish performances. So just to clear that up for anyone asking. So will we move on to right back next? I don't think it'll be another one that's too tough. Gary,
we'll get the right back out of the way there.
Right back, yeah. Was tempted possibly to think about what kind of formation to go for. So I ended up going for a 4-3-3 because I just felt that kind of best suited. So then when I kind of went for that, it kind of narrowed it down and made it quite easy. There really only could be one player, and that was Matt Doherty. He's been playing football since last July when Wolves started the Europa League qualifiers. 39 appearances this season, all competition. 27 in the league, 7 goals, 3 assists. He's played over 3,000 minutes of football this season. He was nominated for the Premier League Player of the Month for February. He's been brilliant. He's been really dynamic now on that right-hand side of Wolves. Obviously, the fact that Wolves play a 5, he plays out on the wing, it does give him a little bit more freedom, and he kind of can express himself a lot more from an attacking sense and from an attacking point of view. Darragh O'Shea was another player that possibly could have fit in there, but I think if you're to take the whole season into consideration, he only started to play against the West Brom team around Christmas turn of the year. Now, he's been very impressed with him. Scored his first goal against Millwall away in February. It was very impressive in that FA Cup victory for them away to West Ham. But I think you have to balance the whole kind of course of the season, and once I fit my team, Matt Doherty can still fit in and do a job at right back, no problem. And I know we said we're going solely off club performances, but you have to throw in his performance as well against Denmark in November. That was phenomenal.
Well, look, I agree with you there. I don't disagree with you at all. It's actually a pity this all happened now in the season stop, because I think Doherty was really getting going. He found his form, and anyone who had him on fantasy football will know that he was picking up points left, right, and centre over the last couple of weeks before the season stopped. And he's always very fun to watch, attack-minded. He's perfect for Wolves, and I think he'd be perfect in the right back position for our team. Keane, the onside?
Yeah, I had Doherty as well. Obviously, I'd look at Seamus Coleman's season. He's had a bit more of a bit part role. I think Paul was saying a few weeks back that Everton signing Sidibe meant that in more attacking-minded games he was playing and Coleman was coming in. So he's playing in centre half. I don't think Coleman's had a bad season by any stretch of the imagination, but I think Doherty obviously has an unbelievable season. And actually, Cyrus Christie's had a decent season as well in the Championship, stats-wise, playing a lot of games, and feel like he's a little bit unfortunate. He never really did too much wrong for Ireland aside from that one game, obviously against Denmark, where he had a bit of a nightmare, but who didn't? That Doherty's come through the way he has. But overall, yeah, I have to agree with you. I'd say Matt Doherty's a fairly obvious choice.
I think we're like Scotland in the sense that like Scotland have two very good left backs and we have two very good right backs. So it's one or the other really. And I think Doherty just does make Coleman. But at the end of the day, we're going to have to pick a captain as well for this team that we're making. So Coleman not getting in there is a big loss as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, just 100%. You mentioned there, I think of Cyrus Christie. Like, I agree, probably didn't do a lot wrong for Ireland except that Denmark game. But as you mentioned, I think a lot of players had that game tonight. It's not more so his club form, I think, with Fulham that where he kind of fell out because he did seem to struggle to adapt to the Premier League last season. Alan Shearer kind of highlighted in particular in one game when Fulham got destroyed by Arsenal. Again, probably another game where maybe a lot of players in Cyrus' team wouldn't have played well. But I think just he then gradually started to fall down the pecking order of that, and then Doherty really rose that season, and that's where he kind of suddenly became the backup or a possible overtaking James Coleman between Coleman and Cyrus Christie for the battle. You mentioned as that like we're a bit like Scotland except on the right hand side. Again, like I know he can play centre half, but like Darragh O'Shea as well in between ones. He's a really exciting prospect as well coming up, and I think in a couple of years' time, when Doherty didn't towards the tail of his career, it's going to be back possibly between them two if say Darragh O'Shea can't get in at centre back.
Well, that brings us to that position, I suppose, doesn't it? Because we have our goalie and our right back sorted. So the two centre halves, maybe a topic of discussion and debate, but I think that Egan is a dead cert in there, and I don't even need to explain why. I think if we're looking for a captain as well, maybe he'd be my suggestion. But what do you think about the other centre half? Because I think John Egan is. Unless, Cian, you want to come out with some mad one there. I think
No. I'm 100% in agreement on John Egan. I think there was three players probably. I think another one will come up later on that are pretty much shooing for this team. I think Egan's been fantastic. In terms of my other centre half, I tried my best not to just say Shane Duffy because I didn't want to just choose Ireland's starting back four. And Shane Duffy's season at club level hasn't been spectacular. Brighton haven't had a terrible season. It's been a bit up and down, and he hasn't really stood out a lot of the time.
So games as he did last season.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's just kind of his presence seems to have been not as imposing at Brighton this season. From what I've seen, I haven't watched too much Brighton football. You might be surprised to hear, but I went with Darragh Lenihan from Blackburn, who kind of has been on the fringes for Ireland for a lot of the time, playing regularly at a decent level in Championship. Blackburn obviously aren't at the same level they were probably 10 years ago, but I think Darragh Lenihan, someone who's been in squads, I don't think he's made a competitive appearance for Ireland. In fact, no, he hasn't. And I just think a little bit of an outside shout rather than just going straight for Shane Duffy. Now I'm totally open to a bit of debate on that.
Sure.
Yeah, just on John Egan, I think just one thing that I think highlights all you need to know about John Egan's season. I think he nailed on. He only missed one game for Sheffield United in the league this season. That was the game after we went off injured for Ireland against Denmark, and Sheffield United played Manchester United. Sheffield United had a collapse in the last 20 minutes of that game because they had 3 goals. That's the only time this season Sheffield United conceded more than 2 goals a game. So John Egan, absolutely outstanding. You look at some of his stats, he's in the top 10 for blocks and clearances in the Premier League this season, and definitely a strong contender for our captain. The other one was very, very interesting. I think Shane Duffy has had a disappointing season. It's weird because he was Brighton's player of the season last year, and then they won their opening game 3-0 away to Watford, and he was part of that. And then the goals started to leak in, and form kind of started to drip. I think because Graham Potter, being a new manager, maybe probably wants to put his stamp on the team and probably wants to put some of his own players in it, and Shane just seems to be unfortunate and miss out like that. I remember that one game was that Webster got injured against Norwich in November. Duffy came on and scored in that game. I think it's great, brilliant. He's now going to kick on and get a run, but he played the next 2 games against Leicester and Liverpool, Brighton, lost both games, and again he just seems to get shipped out. So it's been a bit of an unfortunate season for Shane Duffy and frustrating because you see how good and quality is for Ireland. Like his first name in the Ireland team sheet, so just a pity he's dropped off from, or just hasn't worked out from this season at Brighton. The other centre half spot, like yourself, initially I was going to go for Darragh Lenihan, and then when I kind of thought about his impact on the team, and I know he had that much game time injury, I just think he's had such a major impact, and he's only given the benefit of the doubt because he had a little bit more Ireland experience and playing at a higher level. I went with Cian Clark. Now you have to remember, like Newcastle's start the season shambolically. They only won one of their first 7 games, Clark didn't feature in any of them. Steve Bruce then throws him in at home against Manchester United. I know this game will be remembered for Matty Longstaff scoring and getting man of the match, but that was Newcastle, I think, going for second clean sheet this season, and for Clark to come in and get such a good role in that. And Newcastle's form rose after that. He got a goal away against West Ham. He got a goal home against Brighton. The Chronicle, the Sheikh Gazette or local newspapers up in Newcastle, he was one of the main players that was standing out for them, part of that revival. And you look at, even though he's only, I think, played 17 appearances, 14 during the league, it's not because he's ever been dropped. The games he hasn't played, okay, start of the season wasn't even selected, but from that United game onwards, any game he hasn't played is because he's been injured. So I think that kind of tells you need to know. I know when you think of Newcastle this season, the first names that comes to mind are Fabian Schär, Sam Maxey, and John Joe Shelby. But Cian Clark, people don't know what his future's going to hold with Newcastle's potential takeover, and obviously looks to try and bring in some flashy players. And Clark now into his 30s. But I think he's had a really good season, and he's revived himself from that point of view. He probably wasn't even in the top process for Mick when the qualifying campaign started against Gibraltar last year. And there he was by the end, getting in and being a regular in the Premier League this season. Lennon, I agree with you, has been phenomenal this season. Really big home fan favourite Blackburn, the local media outlets, Blackburn love him. He's captained the team quite a lot. He's put in a lot of strong performances, got a couple of goals this season. But I just think another reason maybe just turned me off Lennon was his discipline isn't possibly as great. He's got 10 yellow cards this season. He's actually missed Blackburn's last 2 games due to suspension. So I think that also just kind of shifted me towards Cian Clark.
Of course, anyone can let us know in the comments who they think the second centre half should be. I think Darragh O'Shea is a shout there as well. Anytime I've seen, luckily the West Brom are on Sky Sports every other weekend because they're always showing the Championship games. And anytime I've watched him play, he looks like a man who's been playing for the last 12 years, at the back. And he's very good on the ball, good in the air, and I think he earned that contract that he got this year. So I wouldn't be against putting him in there either. So who are we going to go for out of the 3 or 4 or 5 players that we mentioned there?
It's a tough
John Egan, definitely.
John Egan is one.
John Egan.
The thing is, even like when you talk about Darragh O'Shea, then you can also look at Nathan Collins at Stoke, who at the start of the season really broke in. And I think when Michael O'Neill came in, there was a need to kind of shore him up slightly, and Nathan Collins saw his game time slightly more limited. But even then, like looking north of the border up in Scotland as well, Sean McLaughlin played a good first half of the season at St Mirren, came down and is playing for Hull now, and Conor McCarthy, I know former Cork City man and maybe showing my bias slightly, but they've both gone across the water into the UK and really, really, really just stepped up to the level. Conor McCarthy, 12 months ago, even this time last year, I remember during my exams going to see Cork play Sligo and people shouting to have him taken off, and to go over to Scotland and be part of a St Mirren team that really turned their season around. I think he deserves a mention. Not that I think he deserves to make the team, but I think the second spot is very, very competitive.
Yeah, big time.
I think just another player as well deserves a mention there as well. Conor Masson, QPR, had to wait a long time before he started to kind of get regular game time, break in. It came on, made his first start against Leeds back in January, got man of the match. Made a couple of appearances this season. Probably hasn't played enough, but I think just for a young player as well, he's kicking on now and he's growing that confidence from the 21 performances. Again, probably not really in realistic consideration of attention, but still worthy of a mention for a lad that's only in the early 20s.
So what we'll do is we can leave that one up to the comments and see who gets the most votes or who's in there between, let's say, Cian Clark and maybe Darragh O'Shea, or even if you want to throw Conor Masterson in that debate as well, then absolutely. But we'll put a question mark on that one for the moment, and we'll move over to left back, which also is a tough spot as well, to be fair.
I think this is a pretty easy one, to be honest.
I was being sarcastic.
All right.
There is one. Before we get on to the obvious candidate, I do think credit needs to be given to Ryan Manning in the Championship, who's had a great season.
Big time, yes.
He's really unfortunate because Ireland haven't really had a clear left back since probably Kevin Kilbane under Trapattoni. Robbie Brady's played there. There's been, we've had Greg Cunningham. We've had a multitude of players who played left back. And now Stevens has really just come in and made it his own out of nowhere. And that's at the exact same time as Ryan Manning has shown not only fantastic performances at left back, but also versatility in playing centre midfield at times. And I think he's a fantastic player. And like I said, just a little bit unfortunate that, who I presume we're all agreeing with, Enda Stevens has had such a phenomenal season at Sheffield United.
Yeah, Enda Stevens definitely there for me. Again, ties in with John Egan here. Two of them are part of the second meanest defence in the Premier League. Sheffield United have kept 10 clean sheets, only behind Liverpool, and that's that. He's been phenomenal, he's been brilliant, and he's a good attacking outlet as well, 2 goals, 2 assists. You mentioned versatility, Ryan Manning. He does deserve a lot of credit because he's not a natural left back. Like, he broke into the QPR team. He was a centre half. He's been converted to left back, and I think he's more stood out possibly for his attacking outlets this season with 3 goals and 5 assists. And then you could probably tell that kind of showed a little bit defensively. QPR now in general haven't been great defensively this season. They've only kept 4 clean sheets, so he's been part of that defensive unit. So I think, given the fact that Enda Stevens is also been part of a much stronger defensive unit, for me, that's why I also kind of weighed in with my mind as well. And I also seen as well a stat there, I don't know, has it changed since, but at Christmas time, Enda Stevens was top for the most percentage completed dribbles in the Premier League. Now, over the course of 2 or 3 months, that might have changed. But even still, to be halfway through a Premier League campaign and to be number 1 on that list is some achievement.
I think a lot of teams got surprised by how good a footballer Enda Stevens was, especially when this Sheffield United team came in. For some reason, half the pundits were saying that this is a hoopball team and stuff like that. But all of that team, that back 4, that back 5 that they play is so important, and those wing backs have to be able to play ball. Like I would 100% be okay with Enda Stevens playing on the wing the same way I would be with Doherty, and that's really important. And it's lovely to see that our wing backs can play really good football. And I think anytime Enda Stevens steps on the pitch, he gives 110%, and that's something very Irish about him as well. People love to see that in the league, and I think some other right backs and left wingers got a fright when he took them on and when he was able to make those dribbles. And absolutely, he's continued it, and I think he could absolutely be there. Like, for even when you're talking about Premier League team in the season, obviously the likes of Chilwell and Robertson, but Stevens is up there in that 3 easy.
Yeah.
Just another funny story right on Enda Stevens, the 42. I remember last year in an article saying that he won the Championship Player of the Month for April. So this is the tail end of last season when Sheffield United got promoted. And I'll send you the link on afterwards just to prove to back myself up and not talking rubbish here. I commented on it underneath saying I can see Enda Stevens having a similar impact as Mark Doherty had this season in the Premier League. Now, I don't think he was quite at Mark Doherty's standard last season, but he is still taking the Premier League like a duck to water, and I will send you that link later.
All right, Ger.
Mr. Ger.
Anyway,
yeah.
I mentioned that anytime that if you're at home and you're having a few beverages, you can make a drink game out of this. Anytime Ger mentions Ireland versus Denmark, you just have a drink and it can be absolutely fun.
I mentioned it once.
You liked it like 3 times.
When was the last time I mentioned the game there? That last bit I talked about, no reference to that game whatsoever.
Yeah, but that's because you were giving people a chance to just finish what they've already sculled. So that was nice of you. Thank you.
Just before we move on to the midfield as well, actually, just out of the comments, we have a few shouts. So we have Kieran Smithers here. I'll get it up on screen. For goalkeeper, Max O'Leary at Shrewsbury Town, who has declared for Ireland. I know he's eligible. I don't know if he's declared, but my Shrewsbury Town knowledge is slightly lacking. But we'll take your word for it. Another good shout. I mean, it wasn't exactly a heated seat for the heated pair of gloves. There wasn't too much competition. But Max O'Leary, a decent shout. And then we have Murphy in with their team, and they've agreed with O'Hara, and they've agreed almost entirely with our back 4, putting in Duffy in that spare spot. Yeah. So we can come back to the midfield that they have, but I mean, in terms of back 4, there's been no other shouts for the other centre half. For people just joining, we're looking for who your centre half would be alongside John Egan for the player of the season for Ireland. Our contenders are Shane Duffy, Darragh Lenihan, Darragh O'Shea, and Kieran Clark. I don't think I'm forgetting anyone. Yeah. So
the formation
just finally finish up there as well on left back. Just also worth a little mention shout as well. Johnny Hayes, Celtic had a very memorable European campaign. I know it ended up disappointingly and surprisingly against Copenhagen, but some of them group stage results to beat Lazio, who were in contention for Serie A title back to back home and away, was a fair achievement. He's had a good season. I think he deserves recognition as well. He was my 3rd choice, but still Enda Stevens over.
Yeah, I have a bone to pick with people who say Johnny Hayes is a left back. I think I could play left back for Celtic and I wouldn't still claim I'm a left back. Just Neil Lennon, I don't trust his tactics too well. But Dennis has
so you won't be your manager anyway.
Dennis has come in and said that Max O'Leary has declared and trained with Ireland, so that's another option for us. But yeah, I think Gary, you were saying about formation. Do we need to kind of come to some kind of an agreement?
I think we've all agreed on the 4 at the back and obviously the goalie. The formation is the main thing. I saw one there was someone in the comments that mentioned is the 4-3-2-1, which I actually find very interesting. But that just kind of eliminates one of the wingers that I was going to pop in. But still, it is worth a debate, because the formation is always the first thing as we think about when we're talking about Ireland and Doherty and Coleman going in and Doherty playing on the right. But we have the opportunity now to make our own formation. So what or which formation are we agreeing on?
Well, when I was looking at it just on the basis of the way team of the years are sometimes done, I just went with 4-4-2. But I'm more than happy to switch that to anything else in that, like adding a centre midfielder, taking out a striker, or however we do it.
The team that I've gone with myself, I've gone for 4-3-3. But I suppose we can, as we're both progressing into midfield and attack, we can kind of name our teams and we can kind of weigh up the players, and then I suppose when we've all given our own feed for talk, we can kind of start formation our own formation then.
So why don't we go for 4-3-3 at the moment then, because it's a 2 versus 1 situation on Cian.
Yeah, that sounds perfect.
There's 2 Liverpool fans here.
We'll start with the sixth, the first centre midfielder in that spot. Cian, who are you going for?
Well, I mean, again, Cork loyalty is shining through. I think it would be remiss not to give one spot to Alan Brown. He's playing regularly in centre midfield for Preston, who are in the playoff spots as things stand. Obviously, we don't know how that'll go. But have had a strong season. Never made a competitive appearance for Cork, but came through our academy and moved over, so we'll have a claim on him. Obviously we're not basing it off Irish performances, but he came in for the final qualification game, I think, played in the right side midfield and was very strong. So I just think, I think for my first shout, I would have Alan Brown. In terms of the other spot, obviously I went with 2. So I went with Jeff Hendrick in the other spot, actually, surprising myself. Not a big fan of his in an Ireland shirt, but he's been fairly consistent, making I think it was 27 appearances for Burnley this season in the Premier League. So a regular in a fairly strong Premier League side. And I just thought, look, when you looked at our options, I was looking at James McCarthy, people like that, didn't have the same sort of longevity. So my 2 that I went with were Hendrick and Brown. Obviously, I'll have an opinion on a third, but if you want to maybe give yours.
Yeah, absolutely. I went for Brown and Malumbi. I just think that, for me, like you said yourself, Brown is, I think, does deserve a spot. He's been absolutely fantastic pressing this year. And I've really enjoyed discovering Malumbi this year. He's one of those ones that I'm looking forward to seeing in the future in an Ireland jersey. I think he's going to be, hopefully, a big player for the next 10 years. And for Millwall, anytime I'm online, his name gets mentioned, Millwall fans are absolutely loving him. He puts in the work, can pass the ball. He's very, very smart. He's very defensive. He loves the tackle, gets involved. So for me, I think that he would be a fantastic Roy Keane type to have in there for us. So even though he's not, obviously it's very tough comparing players, especially ones from the past. But I think we do need that type of enforcer, and he's very good on the ball as well. He's not just that. So for me, Malumbi and Brown are mine in the 3, and I'll obviously mention my third player after Ger to pick his 2.
So the 3 that I've gone with, quite different to yourselves. I've gone for Jason Knight for Derby County, James McCarthy for Crystal Palace, and Jason Malumbi with Millwall. Jason Knight, for a young lad, he's only 19 years of age, his first senior year playing senior football. I think he's done really well. 26 appearances, 22 of them in the league. He's got 4 goals, 1 assist. He can play in central midfield, he can play in attacking midfield role. Local media outlets in Derby, like Derbyshire Live, big fans of Philip Cuckoo, massive fan of him. Ryan Rooney, he's one of the first players he name checked when he joined Derby, about who he really stood out and impressed in the training. He had a little bit, he started the season quite well, then he kind of drifted off. He's come back. I think he really re-announced himself that game over Christmas when he scored 2 goals against Charlton. That was a big win for Derby at the time. And I think, for a young lad, I was kind of him and home between the likes of Adam Brown and Josh Cullen were very close to kind of making it. But I think you have to take into consideration Adam Brown, he's had a couple of phenomenal years with Preston. Had a bit of a slow start to the season, mainly through injury. Had definitely come back the last couple of games to show and go for versatility. He's even played a right back in a couple of occasions for Preston this season. But I think by Adam Brown's own standards, he hasn't been Adam Brown quite just yet the last 2 seasons. And Josh Cullen, again, probably just missed out, but he missed a couple of months around Christmas time due to an ankle ligament injury. And I just picked Malumbi because I think he's a little bit more attack minded. He can kind of get more forward, a bit more creativity, get a bit more goals. And I didn't go with Cullen because I think he's quite a similar player to James McCarthy and Jason Malumbi. So I think it will have 2 conservative midfield. But Josh Cullen has been very impressive. Charlton fans absolutely adore him. They want him signed permanently. I've heard a couple of rumours that David Moyes and a couple of things from West Ham podcast and that wants to have a look at him possibly next season. But I've heard that mentioned him a couple of times at West Ham, and he's been loaned out now 3 or 4 times at West Ham. I think if he really kind of wants to progress on his career, I think a move away from West Ham now at this stage wouldn't be any harm. But I genuinely think West Ham haven't really actually given them enough trust and promise. I think that's a little bit unfortunate. And I think like with Charlton this season, he's done really, really well. Jason McCarthy, yeah, an interesting one because he probably didn't have much match fitness at the start of the season, but he's definitely grown into it with Crystal Palace over the last couple of weeks. He's now become a regular. He's started 12 of the last 13 matches, 26 appearances in general. He's pretty good. They're quite happy with him in Crystal Palace. Roy Hodgson was always very quick to talk him up. Like even when he signed, and like that Manchester City game in January, when he was excellent. Like Hodgson said, like it was always going to take time, and we knew he was physically fit. Just it was always going to take him time for him to get back there after the long injury he had. I read a couple of articles as well from Football London. They cover Crystal Palace matches. And they like him. They think he offers something really completely different to Crystal Palace midfield. And we've seen with Arden, he's a great man to get things going and kind of press forward and lead to counter-attacks. And he's shown that up as well with Crystal Palace this season, 69% passing completion in the opposition half. And Jason Lumby, for me, probably has been the standout Irish midfielder this season. He's been phenomenal. Millwall fans adore him. Like, they probably really know that he's not going to sign firmly, that he definitely will get the Premier League next season, surely with Brighton. You know, he's for a young lad that's only 20 years of age. He started the last 19 of the last 20 matches. Playing 20 matches in a row at that age is some bone that he's never really kind of complained about fatigue or tiredness or picked up any niggle or injury. Like he's been absolutely phenomenal. I found it very surprising when I was looking for the Sky Sports pundits achieving the championship. Not one of them even put him in or even mentioned him being someone who was hard done by. I know Jed Wallace, who's actually met quite a lot of people. He's been very good as well from Millwall. But them three. I agree with Cian. I think in terms of the rest of the Premier League, I think Hendrick has been a decent enough season with Burnley. He's had quite a couple of appearances. Bobby Brady's had a struggling season. Conor Hourihane been a strange one. I think he's probably been better in the cup competitions for Aston Villa. He's the second top scorer in the League Cup this season. But he was I felt it was a little bit hard done by because sometimes he come in for Aston Villa and he play a good game and he score a goal. And then suddenly he'd be dropped the next day. He never really seemed to get that break or run of consistency. Villa definitely do seem to be one of them teams to have a lot of squad depth. So I suppose Dean Smith probably never really kind of settled on his 11. But no, I went with them 3 for me in the end.
I think we're very lucky at the moment. I can't remember the last time as Irish fans we were able to look at a centre midfield and not be able to pick someone. Do you know what I mean? Be like, Jesus, 5, 6, 7 lads there that could go in, and in different positions. We seem to have 2 6s, 2 8s. We even have 2 10s. You know, it's absolutely brilliant. I'm really looking forward to. And they're not like it's not like these lads are like hitting 30 or anything like that anytime soon. These lads have a good few years in them. But the likes of Malone Knight, like in 2-3 years time, I would love to see those 3 in midfield together. Do you know what I mean? I would fight it with that. So I think it's tough to pick them, but it's very enjoyable to, because I think every position there, if we're playing a 3 anyway, even if we're playing a 2, but if we're playing a 3, I think it's actually very enjoyable to see those lists of maybe 5, 6 players that you can pick and choose from and be happy to do it and have these players miss out and actually feel that these lads could come in, no bother and do a job. Like you said there, Conor Hourihane, like I was at a Villa game just after Christmas, Villa Norwich, and he came on for the last 25 minutes, scored a goal, changes the game, and I'm kind of thinking, he's like he does a job, and obviously with his set pieces and sticks and everything he can do with the dead ball, he'd be a fantastic one to have as well. And when I was doing up my team, I didn't even think of him, and I actually feel good that I didn't think of him. Like now I have another one that I can pick from. So yeah, for my third player, I went for Knight as well, only because I was going to go for McCartney, but I think him and Malumbi are 2 kind of similar. Maybe if I was playing a 2 in midfield, I could go McCarthy, but I went for Knight as well. Cian, what about yourself?
Yeah, first of all, I have to apologize for laughing while you were both talking. Paul's in the comments, making a variety of fairly spectacular statements.
What's he saying?
Highlights include Gary looks glorious, Cian always using Cork players, and only one Ger Brown shows your hairy chest. So, and he asks Gary, "Are you on Pirates of the Caribbean?"
What?
So, I was caught laughing a few times. So yeah, my midfield. Back to what we're doing. Yeah, I looked at McCarthy and Hourihane and Cullen and saw that they all kind of had in and out of the team for a variety of reasons. Obviously, McCarthy and Cullen through injury, and Hourihane because I don't really rate Aston Villa's manager too highly, and I'd say he seems slightly overly loyal to some players, and maybe players like Hourihane who do impress often don't actually seem to get their chance, in my opinion. But I mean, as a third spot, I obviously didn't have one, but I'd probably lean more towards Malumbi. But I think if I was picking a 3 from what you've said, I'd probably take out Hendrick and maybe add in Knight, just in terms of, like you said, a breakthrough season. I know he's had a slow start, so I'd say my 3, if we're going with a 3, and I'm happy to bend to that, would be Brown, Malumbi, and Knight.
I'm okay with that. I think that's my one.
I agree with that. I think we're
You're
never
happy
going to
to-
3 and 3, so I think we're happy enough to compromise there. As I mentioned, again, Brown was very close. Well, but the really thing that really encouraged me about that midfield, Jason Knight, Jason Malumbi, Josh Cullen, and Alan Brown, while they might not all be in the Premier League, they're all under the age of 25, which is really encouraging that they could have a serious impact on Ireland for another 10 years. And just as well mentioned with James McCarthy, like he's really put himself back in with Ireland. If that playoff game had gone ahead in March, I'm pretty sure he would have played some part. Still only 28, 29, I still think he could definitely play a part for Ireland in qualifying for Qatar and the Euros in 2024. Yeah, still, if I know injuries is always been a problem, and keep fit, it's very encouraging. And even Jeff Hendricks, well, he's still only 28, so like he still definitely has 2 more campaigns on. So definitely in 2 or 3 years' time, Stephen King's going to be spoiled in the future.
Yeah,
Okay, so
absolutely.
we've agreed on a 4-3-3. Now comes the tough spots, really, isn't it? The front 3 should we go for at the moment?
Is it worth running through the team once more? We've Paul and Carr's asking who's in goal. So will I run through it, just saying we've O'Hara in goals, Doherty, Egan. We haven't agreed yet on a centre half, waiting for comments, but between I think Lenihan, Clark, and Darragh O'Shea.
Yeah.
Then Eddie Stevens left back, Alan Brown in midfield with Malumbi and Knight. So now we have to move on to a front 3.
This is a tough one. I'll let one of you go first because I don't even know where to start.
I'll go with mine. I might cause a little bit of controversy, as I'm going to deal out there that a lot of people would be very surprised and might be a little bit annoyed with. But my front 3, so on the right hand side, I've gone with Shane Long. Down the middle, I've gone with Owen Doyle from Swindon Town, and then the left hand side, I've gone for Rowan Kirsch's with Portsmouth. Obviously, the big one that's going to catch my eye is no Dave McGoldrick, and it was a toss up between McGoldrick and Long, but I purely gone for the fact of going for 4-4-3. I like Owen Doyle for me. I know it's League 2, but 26 goals, that can't be ignored regardless of what level it is. So for me, he has to start. So when they went for a 4-4-3, and Ronan Kirsch's has been twice League 1 player in once, so he was always going to get in. You know, who's going to be better down the right hand side of the front 3 in terms of pace and cause defenders nightmares? It's going to be Shane Long. Also, as well, I've looked at it as well in terms of appearance wise, they're pretty identical. Long, I think, is on 19 for the league. McGoldrick's on 21. But Long has got a couple more goals. He's got 3 goals. McGoldrick's only got 1 that came in the FA Cup. So that just in the end kind of swayed it for me. And McGoldrick has struggled a little bit with injury over the last couple of months and hasn't featured that much and has kind of tailed off. Whereas Shane Long at the start of the season, Southampton couldn't even get a look in. Was 4th choice behind Michael Obafemi, Shea Adams, and Danny Ings, and now he's right up there playing alongside Danny Ings. He's been a regular in their team ever since November. Fans love him. Saints Martin, which is a local website for the Southampton, I read an article there about him. Even they're just talking about how he's transformed his career once again at Southampton. He's been really, really excellent. He's a nightmare. Himself and McGoldrick are really identical in terms of the role that they play. They're not really known for being goal scorers. There are times this season I've watched Shane Long missed a couple of chances and he's been pulling the air out, but the sheer effort and work that he puts in, I still think he's had a pretty good season. And I think we talk about, Mick McCarthy, everyone says, I should have brought on Aaron Conley earlier in short, but when we look back in his range, one of the big mistakes was not having Shane Long in the squad for them games in Switzerland, Denmark, and Georgia. I know he wasn't playing regular game time to Southampton back then, but if you look at him, he's a great player coming off the bench. But the qualifying campaign for Euro 2016, prime example of that. Got the goals against Poland and Germany off the bench. For me, he's probably been a little underestimated from an Irish point of view.
No, I totally agree with you. It is obviously a different front 3, but that's what this front 3 will cause. It does cause controversy. People aren't going to agree. I don't think there's going to be 10 people in Ireland that will have the same front 3 because there's so many options and we don't really have a right winger because you do have to shoehorn a striker in there or a midfielder or Doherty or something like that. So there is a lot of debate and discussion about this. So it is interesting that you went for that front 3. I have the same. I presume you put Long on the right.
Yes, because Curtis plays his football on the left and Portsmouth, so I want to stick to his strongest position as well.
I will say this, that I do have Shane Long in on the right for me as well, but the other 2 for me are different. But I'll let Cian take over from you now anyway.
I obviously, like I said, I went with 4-4-2, so I have to choose between one of my strikers. So I ended up with a choice of 5 left wingers, 6 strikers, and no right midfielder. So I've shoehorned. So I've gone with, on the left, I agree, I've gone with Ronan Curtis. Up top, I was torn between Scott Hogan and Aaron Connolly at the end. I forgot about Owen Doyle's existence. I'm sorry, Owen, if you're watching. He's had a great season, but I do think Scott Hogan was really coming into some really scintillating form at a really important time. Aaron Connolly obviously burst onto the scene, so I thought they were both worth a mention. Shane Long's obviously had a very good season, but also James Collins in the championship. I know he kind of got a bit of stick for the fact he got picked in the Switzerland game, and people thought he mightn't have been the best choice. I think he scored 11 goals for Luton Town, who are in the relegation zone of the championship, which is a decent return for a slightly unfashionable club, I suppose, is the nice way of putting it. But I suppose I'll settle with Hogan just to be different. So Curtis Hogan, and then for the right hand side, I've shoehorned in probably who I feel is the most underrated option for Ireland. I think Cian Sadlier. Paul mentioned it in the comments. Sadlier actually has the same amount of goals and more assists than Ronan Curtis in League One. Obviously another City player, but I'm not. At least I'm admitting my bias here. I'm not trying to hide it away. But I think Sadlier really. I think he's had a great. It's his first full season, I think, over in England. He's taken to it like a duck to water. He's been fantastic, and he scores some absolute screamers. It's always great. I follow him on Twitter, and he's always retweeting them, which is always a nice little bit of confidence to see too. So yeah, my front three, I went with Sadlier on the right, Curtis on the left, and Scott Hogan up top.
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty good front three. I it's once again one of those ones that it's hard to disagree with. It's hard to agree with. It's tough to pick, easy to pick. I actually went for Scott Hogan up front as well. I was so torn the whole day. Like I love David McGoldrick. Anytime I watch him play for either Ireland or he puts in so much work. He holds the ball up better than any. I can't remember a striker that we've had for Ireland maybe since like Niall Quinn didn't even hold the ball up really. He did a little bit, but he was mainly a flick-on type of guy anyway. Dave McGoldrick holds the ball up so well. For a big man, dropped into midfield, takes that ball and can operate there. He was a tough one not to go for, but I think like you said, Cian, as well, Hogan, the form that he was hitting, and it's a pity for him that this all happened when it did, and football stopped, because he was absolutely flying at the He was loving his football again. He was the Scott Hogan that we've actually never seen before. You know, he was becoming this goal scorer that we need. And obviously, it's in the championship as well, so it's a good league to be doing it in. And so I went for Scott up front because of the goals. But I think we do need some goals in the team, because I love Shane Long, but he's not a big goal scorer. He's like more of a worker. And then I put another worker on my left. I went for James McLean, not because of maybe the form that his form's dropped off a little bit since after Christmas. Before Christmas, he was absolutely flying. He was huge for stuff. He was their main man. He was going to everything. Obviously, then all the controversy started, and bits and bobs and whatever. But I thought he had a fantastic year. And I've been out before saying that I'm not James McLean's biggest fan. The way he plays football sometimes does frustrate me, frustrates a lot of people. But I think this season, if we're going off league form and I'm picking my Irish team, I think he's in there.
Yeah, I think McLean's stats wise, I think he's 6 goals and 5 assists, or else the other way around. And I think that was I was surprised by that return, to be honest. Usually he's not the sort of fella to pick up assists and goals to that extent, especially for Ireland. But no, I think he's a great shout. If we just jump to the comments, because there's been a lot of chat here from people. Some people suggesting Doherty in a more advanced position. That's Emmett.
Yeah.
Jason Fitzsimons saying Sean Maguire deserves a shout. A few others, a lot of shouts for Kieran Clark in at centre half. So I think we might have to. We'll come back to that. Dennis coming in saying Didsy's been unreal. He has. He's been. His people who just follow fantasy football and put him in might be a bit frustrated by his lack of return, but he's playing a different role for Sheffield United. Piers Madden agreeing with that too. Oh no, Piers Madden saying the opposite. Been poor, Long had a great season. Sorry. So he says McGoldrick been poor, Long had a great season.
Wouldn't agree with that, no.
McGoldrick has.
I wouldn't agree with it. Murphy thinks Cascarino and Stapleton have been great this season. And Piers Madden, Alan Brown's been playing great as well recently. So just before we came to our final conclusion, there's one more. Sorry, Connolly. Someone's disagreeing with me. My suggestion of Connolly, he's young and he scored 2 goals and he dipped, and that's totally fair.
Yeah, absolutely. The beauty about football and the beauty about discussion, especially when there's no football going on, is that everyone's going to have their own opinions. Hopefully when football gets back, it'll be made easier by someone else picking this team for us. But at the moment, I think we're doing pretty well with a 4-3-3, and I would agree with Ger, if everyone is okay to go with Clark in the centre back position, which I actually thought that wouldn't be much of a discussion. You know, I thought we'd just go for one. I'm happy to go with Clark and Egan as the centre back.
Yeah.
Anyone who's just joining in now, Cian, what was the team again? Who we went for?
O'Hara, Doherty, Egan, Clark, Stevens, Brown, Malumbi, Knight, and now we're on to the front three.
Yeah. Okay.
Just as well, sorry, just mention there on attack as well, but touched on there, Kieran Sadler, as I mentioned, because I put one Carson and he's got more goals in League One. Look down that route in terms of Irish players in League One. Goals, as I mentioned as well, former League of Ireland players have a good career in England. Paddy Madden, he's the Irish goal scorer in League One, 15 goals, joined second, had a pretty good season. The Scott Hogan one was a tough one, but I think the reason why I left him out was I think this is over the course of the season, so I'm going back as far as August. So I think he's only really started finding form since he went to that loan move to Brian in the last, 2 months or so. Like the first half season with Stoke, he struggled. He couldn't make the match day score by a lot. Stoke were kind of struggling, but like he's definitely won me over. Like because he was one of them players along with Collins and question like why isn't he Ireland's spot Shane Long now? And I think like it's time to kind of like forget about him. But then he's just reminded me of Birmingham. He's gone back to his Brentford days. He's been phenomenal as well. Just another one for midfield, because I was having this debate with one of the mates last week about the midfield, and we kind of bypass. And he doesn't play in England, but he still deserves a lot of attention. He's on Mick McCarthy's radar. Well, he was on Mick McCarthy's radar. Jack Byrne. I know it's an interesting one because he was idle for a lot of months between November and February, no League of Ireland games. But you think back, like qualifying for the Europa Leagues, that was this season. Then games with Shamrock Rovers against Brann and Aqua and Linsall, he was phenomenal. Even the first couple of games this season, he's been brilliant. Till end of last season as well. Like that Dundalk game a couple of weeks ago, everyone obviously for Jordan Flores' goal, but like Jack Byrne scored a brilliant goal to win the game for Rovers. I think he's the best player on the pitch that night. And like, well, I know we're going off club form, but he had a couple of good performances for Ireland there as well, particularly against New Zealand. Probably thought he was the best midfielder that night. Like, so I think he's definitely entitled to a shout, even though he hasn't maybe played much in the what we would call the 2019-20 season.
Mm-hmm. We can even squeeze him in onto the right side of midfield if we fancy it.
Mm-hmm. It goes back to that statement that I made though about our midfielders and the choice that we have. I'd be happy popping him in as well. And you know what, we have probably with the team that we have, we're playing 3 midfielders. We still have 4 midfielders that will come off the bench easily there that we all mentioned, and I'd be happy with all those boys coming in easy. But with the front 3, Ger, are you happy to get rid of any of your players in place of mine or Keane's?
Depends who you want to suggest.
Well, I think we're all in agreement to Curtis, are we?
Well, what do you think yourselves? Because I talked for a second after Paul's comment there, you're leaning towards Cian Sadler and your Cork back on. The one thing I will say, if you were to kind of jump on the bandwagon and possibly kicking out Ronan Curtis, the last couple of games he's gone quiet. I don't think he's actually scored or assisted a goal since the start of February. So the last 6 or 7 games, he hasn't maybe contributed that much. Like his form really more so was kind of November, December, January, and he got the player month November, December. Then really probably fortunate start there in their 4th round FA Cup victory when they knocked out Championship Barnsley. So I would possibly allow a little room there if he maybe wants to kick out Rowan Curtis.
Yeah, I have no opinion obviously on Kieran Sadler, but I think Murphy here is making a good point saying Sadler over Curtis. And
that is a good point.
Joe, Cian, you could maybe just pick, forget an Irish 11 season, you could just maybe pick a Cork 11 season.
I don't know if most of our players have probably gone back on loan, so I don't know if we have 11 at the moment. Just a good contribution from Paul here. He really, really wants me to read it out. So he says, take your top off, Ger, take it off, Ger, and Cian tell him to take it off. So I needed to stop. I was missing comments from Paul insisting on Ger taking his top off. So before we go back to it.
Does Paul have any other actually football contributions to make here?
He's on the Sadler train. Paul reckons Sadler. He has said Sadler is a legend.
A bottle of water, a white T-shirt, and Ger's body, and that's I don't know why we're talking about football at all, because this should be a wet T-shirt contest all day.
The one of it's like the old Diet Coke ads, where he cracks it and yeah.
So front three, let's decide who we go for.
I'm willing to. I'm very flexible in terms of one of my players. I think Scott Hogan's open for debate. I think one of Sadler or Curtis. I probably do think Shane Long deserves a shout, just in terms of a bit of a renaissance for him. He kind of his career could have ended. He lost his place in the Ireland squad. You know, he wasn't getting much game time at Southampton, and he's really kind of shown a lot of determination to get back to where, like, better players than him have kind of seen that as their career winding down and just kind of taken their salary and tipped away. But he's really, really knuckled down, and you think will break back into an Ireland squad if he can continue going. And Southampton manager Hasenhüttl speaks really highly of him. So I'm totally flexible to Shane Long over one of my three, but I'm not too sure about Owen Doyle just in terms of his level. I know he's been phenomenal in terms of goal scoring, but I'm not sure would it be fair to include him above Sadlier and Curtis, who are both starring in teams a league above, competing at the highest level of League One, you know?
Yeah, no, like, I do agree. So, like, one thing that I got out of that is we all agree on Shane Long on the right.
Okay.
Which is something that not many people would agree on, or if you have a comment, you can leave it below who you think should play on the right, fine. But I think it's the left and the middle that we might have the issues with, and it is what we have the issues with at the moment. I didn't think it would be, because Ireland do not have a right midfielder or a right winger really. So we've put Shane Long in just to kind of to move away from that situation. I think all three of us are happy with that. So, but I think Scott Hogan. I'm happy with Scott. Like, I love McGoldrick. I think he's brilliant. I only said he's not had a good season. Like, has not.
I'd have McGoldrick ahead of Spalding Pickard, to be honest.
No one cares.
The other option would be to have Long up top and Sadlier and Curtis, or Sadlier and McLean, or Curtis and McLean on the wings. You know, I know don't necessarily play those positions, but Long is also an option through the middle. You know, we can shoehorn someone else in onto the right. Paul has come in with his team. If we want a quick look, he has gone with O'Hara, Doherty, Clark, Egan, Stevens, Malumbi, Cullen, Knight, Curtis, Sadlier up front, and Long on the wing, which is a strange one.
Basically, my team, copycat.
Except for Sadlier centre forward is a strange one, but I know Kieran Sadlier did say himself he wanted to play through the middle more, so perhaps we can shoehorn him in there. It's not exactly an easy decision, but I feel like someone's going to have to stick or twist sooner rather than later.
I'm happy popping Shane Long on the right. In favour of my friendship with Ger, I don't want to fall out with him. I can take Scott Hogan out there. You know, that he wants, and then I don't mind with the left wingers. Like, obviously, I think McLean has won me over this season more than anything, and I think that's why I had him in. But I'm okay to move him out as well. So I'll leave it up to you boys to pick centre forward and left winger, and then I will comment after that and see.
Well, we can always push Long into the middle. I'm really trying to
McLean on the right,
or Sadlier on the right.
Yeah, it's tough.
Well,
we could.
If we're going, considering the reason, one of the reasons we're going to go for Sadlier and Curtis over Doyle was the level and the standard of play at, then if that's the case, then we're choosing between Curtis, Sadlier and McLean, then try McLean and get the nod because he's at a higher standard of the championship.
They've had a poor season though, really. It would be my debate. I know he's been good in a poor Stoke team, but as far as like Curtis definitely isn't like a top League One team. Sadlier less so, but still a quality team. But I wouldn't. I mean, I'm kind of debating, or not. I'm kind of arguing to prove myself right rather than anything else. I don't really have much of an argument aside from that. But yeah, it's. I mean, I suppose it wouldn't be not to add another name to the hat, but Callum Robinson had a good start to his time at West Brom. I know he kind of went off a little bit. They're competing at a high level on loan from Sheffield United. Had a poor first half of the season, but it's not an easy decision.
No, it is not.
I'd be happy to sacrifice and go for a mixture of Long, McGoldrick, and Sadlier.
So you didn't sacrifice.
Huh?
You didn't do any sacrifice, did you?
He didn't Sadlier instead of Curtis.
I only put one of my original three.
Okay.
But does McGoldrick go in ahead of Long though?
But if you're playing him in the centre, then yes, absolutely. As long as they play on the right. But
then you're looking at that front three, and is there a lot of goals in it? You have to look at from that point of view possibly as well.
I mean, if we're going to get very technical, this team will never play together, so it's fine.
You never know. Someone is always watching. writing things
We're
down.
going eligible for Ireland, so there's a possibility to play that.
Yeah. Well, the chances Stephen Kenny's watching as we speak.
Yeah, stick Ronaldinho in there as well, and put McCarthy up front, and sure, then it'll all together.
Diego Forlan was only one generation away from playing for Ireland.
So what are we going with? Long? Do we say Long, McGoldrick, and Sadler?
I'm okay. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
Too.
I'm okay with that.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
So
I'd be expecting this team to scrape a lot of 1-0 victories. But
Hey, we got Jason Knight coming up through the midfield. Don't worry about it.
I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that team. I think we've done quite well. But the real question is, why does Ger still have his top on?
That's for we have to name our manager first.
Oh yes.
Actually. Okay, so this is a decision as well. Now, should we go for maybe a previous Ireland manager who could absolutely handle all of these boyos, or should we go for a Irish manager that's out of work at the moment, or an Irish manager that's currently managing that's had a good season? What do you think?
Well, I mean, you go ahead.
Sorry, just in terms of Irish managers at the moment that currently in the game, there's not really too many that stand out. There's Jimmy Barry Murphy of Rothschild. I think he's doing a brilliant job there with not much to spend in terms of budget down League One. He's done a great job keeping up last season, carrying that through the season. Similar scenario situation in Scotland at St Mirren with Jane Goodwin, just trying to keep them above the relegation zones in Scotland. And you can't instantly think of any other Irish managers out there at the moment. There's none that really spring to mind from League One or the Championship or the Premier League. In terms of work managers like Chris Hughton, something surprised that hasn't got a bit of work this season after he started Brighton in the last season. I think he's the type of manager that probably working get the best out of that players like he did with kind of Brighton. It's probably very similar to a Brighton team in the sense it's not really too many standout names and kind of good workhorses and a couple of good individuals in it. Definitely for me. In terms of as the stereotype I was saying, Jack Charlton would definitely get a couple of good results out of that team.
That's so fair. That's so fair.
Martin O'Neill's out of work.
Roy Keane.
Yeah.
Paul reckons Stephen Kenny. He says Stephen Kenny, no question.
Yeah, okay.
You look at that team, like
Stephen Kenny, team. He has an Irish team of his own. This is an Irish team we're putting together.
But this Irish team that we're put together, because there's a lot of young players and a couple of players on the senior team, it won't be far off in terms of teams. They're definitely going to try out, say, Nations League that goes ahead, or kind of friendly games and stuff like that, or could even end up playing this team for playoffs after the next set of World Cup qualifiers.
I'm happy. I'm happy. For me, when you mentioned Chris Houghton there, my eyes lit up. I would love to see him managing any team soon. But if he was managing this band of feckless rogues, I'd be absolutely delighted.
Murphy agrees with you. I always like Chris Hughton and good manager, I reckon. So there's a decent shout. I mean, Barry Murphy, another Cork man, obviously. So I have to give his dues. Doing a good job at Rochdale by all accounts.
Probably the best dressed manager in football.
That's a shout. Was it Paul Tisdale? Was that the fella's name who used to wear the flat caps? There was
no, he used to be with Exeter, wasn't he?
Yeah, there's a few stylish managers now. There's a debate for that. As a few dedicated followers of fashion in the football league, but it's disappointing in a way that there's not more Irish coaches. But I mean, it's such a tough gig to get into. But I mean, even if you look at the kind of setup in Ireland, there's some really good coaches coming through, like Andy Reid, obviously a good man, and another manager actually out of work we didn't mention is Mick McCarthy. He's looking for a job. But I mean, it's not going to be an easy decision to come to. But I'm happy to Jesus Christ, Paul. I'm happy to agree with Chris Hughton as well.
What do you say?
Does Murphy think Ger should take a stop off? That's the 10,000 subscriber special. Is we released
absolutely
the Ger calendar.
So just go over the team there one more time, Cian, and the manager and the formation. So the formation went 4-3-3. The manager is going to be Chrissy, maybe.
Yeah. We got Chris.
And the team?
Kieran O'Hara in goals, right back Matt Doherty, centre halves Kieran Clark and John Egan, Enda Stevens left back, Alan Brown, Jason Malumbi and Jason Knight in the midfield. Right forward was Kieran Sadlier, right forward was Shane Long, left forward was Kieran Sadlier, up front was Dave McGoldrick. That's the one.
So this is the team. We picked this team out of performances based on this season. So anyone now and hearing this team, just just chill out and relax.
Yeah, if anyone has any other suggestions, I know there's a few people who've just joined.
I still think that'd make a pretty decent Ireland team.
It is a good Ireland team. It is a very good Ireland team. But I think, there's a couple in there that the likes of Shane Duffy and the likes of James Coleman,
Darren Randolph
and stuff like that obviously do miss out. And you know what? They don't miss out by a lot either, even if it is performance based. So I think.
And I mean, we also it's good to see. I'm a big fan of Glenn Whelan. I don't want to be using him, but he's often used as a example of a player who doesn't necessarily have to play too well. But it's good to see that there's a mix of regular Irish internationals playing well, along with good players coming through. You've got McGoldrick playing well. That back four is probably close to our main back four. You'll probably put Duffy in ahead of Clark, but not by much. And then you've got a midfield three that could very easily, the Irish midfield three, I think, will be the biggest change under Kenny. I would not be surprised if that is the midfield three in a year's time. But no, it's not far off at all. I think it's very good.
And one last question.
Another player in terms of midfield we didn't mention here, so just bringing it into my mind. But Birmingham City, Dan Crawley, he's actually declared. He's been available for the Republic of Ireland. I know there was one game Mick went to watching Birmingham against Portsmouth in the EFL Cup at the start of the season. Probably didn't have time for his greatest game, and he kind of fell a little bit mixed reckoning. But he's having a good season with Birmingham. He's playing mainly on the right hand side, and Birmingham are kind of having a little bit of an up and down kind of season. Okay, he's only 23, so he's quite young. He's made himself available for Ireland. He said he wants to play for us. He's another player as well that I hope to see in the green shirt in a couple of years' time, because in the next couple of years, because he's a player that's really excited me from what I've seen of him with Birmingham this season, and of course with the Dutch League last season, Division. He's a very good player there.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe here's one for you. There's a quick question for the comments now. Sorry, it's just Piers Madden asks, what about team for the playoffs? And they ask who Long and McGoldrick up front. But I suppose a more general question was, what would be your attacking trio or duo? And he said duo for the playoff or for the next match even. What would you like to see going forward? I mean, personally, I'd probably go with I'd probably stick with McLean. I think he's, for now, obviously if it was just the next game, I think going forward we'll probably try and move beyond. But I think Long, McGoldrick, McLean would be my front three anyway.
I'd be on for that as well. Like I know a lot of people are, I think Paul included, would love to play Doherty on the right of that, or a kind of a midfield up and down kind of a role with Coleman as right back. But I'm absolutely 100% for McGoldrick and McLean there as well, just on what they've done over the last couple of months, not just season wise, but how they've played in the Ireland jersey and stuff like that. And the consistency wise as well, I think it's a good idea to go for if it's not broken, don't fix it. I don't think we're necessarily broken or fixed at the moment, but I think those two definitely. And then for the right midfield, like you could shoot Robinson in, you could put Doherty in, Long in, like we said. So I do think that it is one of those that it could be anyone on the right. But with McGoldrick and McLean, I think they do have to go in there.
Just kind of depends what way this playoff game falls. So like they'll talk about potentially October. So just say it ends up being Ireland's next game. I can't really see Stephen Kenny going kind of experimenting too much for a playoff game of this magnitude and importance. It's not really a time to go throwing in too many new players. You really do kind of stick with the tried and trusted. It's a tricky one there. It just kind of depends how much club football gets played between now and then, and what players are in form. Like if we say this game was played in March and you pick a team off corner form, then you probably would have expected maybe Callum Robinson to start. McGoldrick would have been down through the middle if he was fit. McLean probably just for his sheer heart and desire for Ireland, definitely line there. He's got good experience with big match games, scoring the winner against Wales and Austria. Scott Hogan definitely would have been very much in contention for a starting berth. Shane Long is someone I really like coming off the bench to kind of stretch the benches when teams are tired in the last 15-20 minutes. I suppose seeing him having that kind of role. But again, a lot kind of depends if Aaron Conley can get over a little bit of his injury niggles and start finding a bit of form as well. Micheál Femi as well, or Michael Femi. He's had an up and down kind of season with Cian. He's had another one as well. Like scored in Stevenson's Day, a cracking goal away against Chelsea, and then he gets injured after that. It just kind of seems to be that inconsistent. But if he can kind of find a good run as well, he's someone that's potentially in the shout for me.
No, I think Micheál is a good shout. To be honest, I think he'd love
Micheál.
Yeah, I think he would love Micheál as well.
We have a few shouts in the comments, just people. We have someone, Murphy, coming in saying things could be worse. Could be starting Connor Salmon up front. That's a very good point. Paul reckons Obafemi and McGoldrick. You're kind of missing a goal scorer in that, but I mean, if it's an away game, you got a lot of legs. Murphy coming in with Long and McGoldrick with Obafemi off the bench. So I think not too many disagreeing with us. Murphy has a suggestion for our next video, which is an all bald players team. We'll certainly take that into account anyway.
He does realise we're talking about Irish players here.
I'm trying to go one bald Irish player. Stephen Carr. There we go. Connor Salmon. There's we got two.
McGoldrick, Randolph.
Yeah, there we go.
Who else is bald? Stephen Carr. Put Stephen Carr right back.
Yeah. Who else is bald? Or balding? Dean Kiley in goals. There you go. Oh no, we've already got Darren Randolph. Dean Kiley can play left back instead.
Yeah, he'd play left back. I actually can't think of any bald centre backs.
Terry Cian was bald, was he? No, he wasn't bald. I'm looking at the thumbnail here beside me.
Lee Carsley getting in midfield, anyway.
Lee Carsley, yeah.
Bald. God, I can't. Oh, Clinton Morrison up front with Dave McGoldrick. There you go.
There we go. We go. We're getting the bones of a team already, Murphy. If you have any more suggestions for ball, Kenny Cunningham. I mean, degrees of ball.
Centre half.
Good point here.
Stephen Ireland went bald there for the end.
Stephen Ireland is not that team no matter what. And I don't care how bald he is.
Stephen Ireland, didn't he stop playing because he was getting bullied by the fact that he didn't want to be bald anymore? Wasn't the hair transplant? Or that was
I don't know. Anyway. There's so many rumours that go around.
There's one who criticised him from Cork.
Oh, jeepers. Can we relinquish? He'll have to hand in his Cork license. Shamrock Rovers Fan TV here with a bit of a suggestion saying most people talk about Parrott and Connolly. Just thinking about Obafemi is the only player getting the most games. That's a good point in terms of experience. But I mean, like you said, I think earlier, Gary, it's because it's all open to debate. It's kind of the best part of it all. But yeah, I mean, I think this shows just how much we're missing football, though, that we're now declaring teams of all ball players. So
I think we can make a feature out of this. But look, what it says down there is Irish Football Fan TV Irish Team of the Year. Is that going to be Irish Team of the Year so far, or is this the end? Do you think the season should be voided, or do you think that they should play when it's safe to do so? Now, this is a question. This is a hot potato question, lads. So I'll let you take over.
Well, I mean,
as a Liverpool fan, I don't need. I think my answer is pretty obvious.
I mean, I think. Oh, okay. Paul is really spamming his comment with "Tell Ger he's a legend." So Ger, you're a legend from Paul multiple times.
I'm still not going to take my shirt off. Like,
there's a lot of comments here. Just an amount of comments asking to tell Ger he's a legend. So let's get that out of the way before I get into my serious point. But I was listening to a podcast today when I was walking to the shop, and they're talking about Jay Rodriguez for Burnley, talking about how he doesn't mind going back playing. He only lives with his dogs and his girlfriend or his wife, he said. And he said, yeah, he'd happily play. But I mean, if you think about the players then who might be living with family, might be living with, the grandparents, or people, just anyone at all who might be vulnerable to the virus, obviously you can talk about putting them into a hotel, isolating them from that family. But the question is really, I suppose, what's the is it fair? What sort of obligation should players have to do something like that? And I just think it's a little bit. So far, all the suggestions put forward behind closed doors, I think everyone has talked about, what about the fans? What about this? What about the TV companies? I think there has not been enough of a question about what about the players. I feel like the players need a little bit more
protection.
Need to have a little bit more of an input on it. You know what I mean? It's just, at the end of the day, they're human beings too. And if I was sent out tomorrow to play a game of football, I'm not sure if I'd be able to focus given, the situation around. It's not an ideal situation at all. And I just think there needs to be as much care as possible given to the fact, I don't think we should rush back into anything. Hopefully we won't. Based off the plan yesterday, it doesn't need to be the case here. But I'm surprised by some of the leagues that are rushing to get back, like the Bundesliga. It just doesn't seem to be putting the players first, in a way.
To be fair to Germany and the Bundesliga, they've handled it very, very well. And the players.
Well, that's what you think.
Huh?
Well, the whole clone situation is blowing that up now. So.
Yeah, well, look, the players are back training on Thursday, but they're still a long way from coming back. And back training, that's not all the lads going out in the gym together or out running together. That's maybe 2-3 players on the pitch at one time doing their runs, doing their bits and staying fit. And I actually think that is something that leagues will look at first anyway. And I think the Bundesliga are doing that quite well. But like I said, I don't think that any league is ready at the moment. I know yesterday all the Italian teams decided to finish the season, so I'm putting it again, it's up to the government. But I do think what comes into it, like I'm like you, Cian, as well. Like the players, of course, the management, the staff that have to be involved in these games if they're being even behind closed doors, and ambulance workers have to be there, and there's a lot to that. But at the end of the day, I think it all comes down to money, and the money that these teams get kind of keep them afloat. Like if people can say football teams are, there's millions in it, but there's not billions. Like they're not like Apple or Amazon or any of these companies. They can't. And even we saw 2-3 weeks after this all happened, they were all looking at these schemes and player cuts and stuff like that. And like, of course, that's good to stay afloat. Like a team like Burnley or Brighton or one of those, they can't be turning much profit every year. Like it can't be up in the hundreds of millions. They need these TV deals to survive essentially. And I was talking to one of the lads the other day, and he said that there could be some sort of a loan where these teams slowly pay back these deals. But let's say if Burnley get relegated next season, then they won't have the means to pay this loan back for way too long. Way too long. So it's just one of those things that I think for me, like I'm biased as well because I'm also a Liverpool fan like Ger, and I think that's the easiest thing to decide. I don't think Liverpool winning the league or not is the difficult decision. You know what I mean? That's going to happen if they give it to them, if they avoid the season, whatever they're doing. The tough decisions are actually League One, the Championship, the teams that could go down from the Premier League, the team Villa with the game in hand, stuff like that. Like that's the real issue. And obviously, of course, I'm not talking about the health issues. I'm just talking about like starting the league up and money wise and bits like that. But of course, what comes into it is when it's safe to do so, should it be played? And for me, I think it benefits the teams to do so. But look, if there's a player vote and the majority of players say we don't feel safe and we don't want to come back, then 100% I'm for that as well. Because at the end of the day, like you said, Cian, it's them on the pitch, it's them running around, them providing the entertainment. Because football is half business, half entertainment, and it's the business side that's dictating things at the moment. But it is the players that should have the final say. And if a player doesn't want to, put his family at risk by coming home after 2 games and between 3 days, and they have to be around their family and be around their grandparents and stuff like that. Like that's unfair to ask players to do that. But that's my point.
The big issue and problem here is July 1st because clubs have no problem in saying that we're permitted to finish out the season whenever we want. But the issue is after July 1st, players out of contract. They're going to turn around and say that I'm still not paying these players that are no longer tied down to us. And that's kind of the big issue. It seems to be this big mad rush and panic to get this done before July 1st. And we all know for health and safety reasons that's going to be too much of a push and too much of an ask. Even if they do put them into the neutral grounds, put them self-isolated in hotels and all that, it's a bit much and a bit unfortunate. You mentioned well, like it is the big issue here is that day and then money talk and all that. Like for Sheffield United, are on the cusp of possibly getting to a league. The finance they can get from that are absolutely huge. For Leicester to get back into the Champions League are massive. For Leeds United, forget even just the financial aspect of Leeds. If Leeds don't go up this season after missing out cruelly last season and putting all this hard work and effort, that sets the club back psychologically and then players probably 5 to 10 years before they can get back up, like big blows like that. If for argument's sake the league was null and void this year, and Liverpool weren't the clear champions, I don't care how good the team Liverpool have, I think from a psychological point of view that's going to affect Liverpool hugely. But I think just issues like that is kind of the biggest problem. I think we need to kind of take our time. If we can find a way to work and negotiate that players are out of contracts and first Friday can still stay on, just find new dates for stuff like that and just let it take its toll and let us take time. Don't worry about next season. Let's just get this season done and everything else like that, because there's going to be a season in a couple of years' time. I know the Qatar World Cup is going to disturb and disrupted and some different start dates, winter breaks and all that. So it's not like as if this is something that we weren't going to have to deal with anyway. It is a tricky scenario situation. Like for myself, from a personal point of view, you probably are a bit greedy of itself because you love football and sports so much. Just kind of help small bit with kind of some sort of form of managing and give you something to be excited about and look forward to. But you have to realise in the day, it might be alright for you because you might have a loved one that's affected by this. Other people are, and if you're quite a little bit selfish and a little bit mean. And in the day, I know there's the financial worry for clubs that seasons don't get finished, TV money, have the lower league clubs haven't got the gate seats. They're going to struggle financially, but sport and football will be there when everything is hopefully alright. Hopefully we can get a vaccine sooner or later, or we can find some sort of treatment and that it's just a tricky scenario and situation. It just has to be an absolute pain in the backside. It has to happen to one year Liverpool coming to the
Yeah, no, I just think as well. I mean, you said there about Burnley and stuff, and that's one thing. But I mean, if you look even close to home, then the League of Ireland clubs are so much more, in trouble, because even if the government yesterday announced, oh, League of Ireland can play again there next week, the thing is, the way these clubs are built, the foundations are like lollipop sticks in that league. If City were told, just from a very, because I know a little bit more, like if Cork City were told tomorrow that they could play a game next Friday, I don't know which players will be available. Different regulations in different countries will have a massive effect just in terms of players, like loan players. I think City had 5 or 6 players in on loan from England, and that's if there's one regulation here and one regulation there, will Arsenal, or these players are worth a huge amount of money above all else really to these clubs. Are they going to want to just send a player over to play behind closed doors if they're being told you can't play behind closed doors? And then in terms of finances, there's no real backup in Ireland. That's the other thing as well.
If they were to come over, they'd have to isolate for 2 weeks. So yeah. It is unfair to ask players to do that, to leave their family abroad, come over here, isolate for 2 weeks, and then if it's safe to do so, we can play. So I think you're right there, Cian, as well. I mean, think of that, and like Ger said, the contract as well. There's a lot of players who sign pre-contracts. Like if I think of like someone like Hakan Ziyech who's going to Chelsea, like what happens with his situation? Do you know what I mean? So there's a lot more than just let's get them on the pitch as soon as possible. So yeah, but it's
another thing as well that I found interesting, said from a League of Ireland point of view. Like Leo Varadkar was saying last night that football in GA in this country can resume on the 20th of July because it's partial contact sport. But like so rugby has to wait till September because it's a full-on contact sport. I know in rugby there's a lot more contact in terms of like bringing down a man and grabbing around the waist and all that, but how would God's our name that he can make out that football at GA? Yeah. In particular, in our case here, we talk about football. It's still a partial contact sport. It's still a full-on contact sport. Yeah, like for me, it has to be treated the same bracket as rugby and boxing. That I have to wait.
Yeah, if you're going to think of like a corner kick or something like that, you're going to be like you're not going to be keeping social distance on a corner, or else you're not going to be playing the next match.
Fouls happen because players are mauling each other the same way as they do in rugby. Like so, that's why you often hear the phrase that was a rugby tackle. That's why it's a free kick. Like so, I don't know how he can justify that decision, but. Like I know as well, I think the 5,000 gathering planned for September, like League of Ireland grounds, like you're still going to have to keep the social distancing. I heard Dan McDonald saying earlier, like health and safety in League of Ireland grounds and some of them probably aren't the best in terms of scratch and standards as well. The one thing that I found interesting, it'd be good to get your thoughts on as well. Obviously, games have to go behind closed doors or reduce capacity and all that. Like clubs still have to make money, especially with those doors and the online pay-per-view streaming. What would you kind of be thoughts on that? Like, to be honest, I wouldn't be too objective to it. I'd be looking from the point of view and saying that clubs still have to make their money, still have to get by. Yes, I can't be there, but like at the end of the day, I'd still be paying with €215 on the normal second sport and watching, so I wouldn't mind doing that. And then I need to see clubs to prevent them from going on that.
Yeah, I think the behind the closed doors thing is it's going to happen. Like it has to happen. I don't think we'll see a stadium opened in 2020, regardless, because there's no way they can handle this thing with everyone coming into games. Whatever they do about the players, with the fans, it's going to be different gravy altogether. But I'm okay with it being behind closed doors. Obviously, it's nearly a different sport when it's behind closed doors, which is strange watching it on the TV. And like I think with clubs making their money, they'll still have their TV deals. They'll be okay. That like we're not this summer if it comes.
That's not an issue. Say with League of Ireland, like TV money. That's
like. Behind closed doors, League of Ireland, I think is a huge decision. I think that's
what I'm saying. Would you mind the League of Ireland go behind closed doors and we did the pay-per-views where you paid your €10-15 to watch the game?
Like I'm perfectly okay with that. Like okay, it's different, and obviously League of Ireland teams they rely on fans coming in, merchandise, on the night money kind of thing. But if there was, I think I'd be happy with that if there was a pay-per-view thing to pay, whatever you pay at the door to go in and to log on and watch the game. I think that's a good idea. But like, I think we're ahead of this. I think we're a little bit ahead of the schedule here, as opposed to let's say they are in England. I think we've handled it a lot better than a lot of countries. So I reckon the longer it goes on for us, the safer it'll be to come back playing football with fans. Do you know what I mean? Because we've been, in fairness to us, we've been very good. We've handled it quite well, way better than a lot of other European countries. So I can see the season either resuming or starting again or whatever, because obviously we're not too far in. too far into it. And I can see fans being allowed in. But if it does get worse and things do stay static like they are at the moment, then I think it's not a bad idea, because these clubs do need money to do a pay-per-view, like as you suggested. So well done, Ger.
I'm not too sure how economically viable it'll be for clubs, to be honest. I saw a figure floated by the Dundalk. I don't know if it's their official Twitter page, but it was apparently an informed figure, which was that it would be €10 for a match. Season ticket holders would get the matches for free, home matches for free, and then get a reduced rate for away games. I think €10 for the standard match, and then the away games for season ticket holders being €7. Was what I read. Now, I'm not sure how accurate that would be, but if you're looking at, let's say I'm a Cork City fan and I watch, now I am a season ticket holder, but if I'm not, if I'm a casual Cork City fan, I'm not sure how likely that is to draw my €10 for one match. Especially if it's, it's looking at, I mean, if you're looking at one match a week, that's €40 a month. Often in the League of Ireland, especially over summer, you could be looking at 6 matches maybe a month. You're looking at £60, and that's just for watching football. Like you said, it's almost like a different sport. Some would say, and I probably would be in agreement, that it's not quite the same sort of spectacle if you're in an empty stadium, especially in stadiums like Tala, where you get a big stand behind the camera. It can be quite kind of eerie and not a very enjoyable thing to watch. Look, I just think that they can't really rush into, okay, €10, because I'm not sure whether that'll be enough to pay clubs and things like that. If you were to say, okay, we're having a service where if you pay for one match, you'll have the highlights of all the other games, or the full match is available afterwards, something like that, and it's 15 for the Friday night, you get your choice of one match live, something after. But I'm not sure. I wouldn't be rushing into planning what has been suggested, which is just a standard, okay, pay whatever for match. I'd be very surprised if it drew anywhere near the sort of kind of maybe 2,000, 3,000 that would come to Turner's Cross on a Friday night, especially even just in terms of families. You pay for one ticket and you're getting the whole family versus paying for 3 or 4. Yeah,
true. But if you pay for to preview a game, you could have 2 or 3 people watching that.
Yeah,
so they're going to business, and that's a good idea. Like, I would pay right now. I would pay £50 to watch a football match.
Yeah, that's fair.
On the telly, I watch it on my phone. I watch it on the back of my shoe with my could.
There's the K League's back next weekend.
Yeah, is it?
Yeah, the K League's back in
Korea. The Korean League is back next weekend. Of course, if you're really missing the fix of football, Belarus is still ongoing at the moment.
Yeah, they've just acted like nothing's happening.
Like
Taiwan, 4 games in Taiwan League on the one.
Like, it's a matter of time. It is a matter of time before we're able to play football again. And I think that's what we have to take out of it. Like, the football will be back. There's times over the last couple of weeks you're thinking it's going to be a long.
We're through the worst of this thing.
Mm-hmm.
But look, well, especially with what Leo said last night, there was a lot of positives to take from that. So, look, it's just one of those things. Hopefully, football comes back stronger than ever, and we sort out how we're watching games and how much it's going to cost to watch them online and stuff like that. It's going to be very different for the next couple, maybe 2 years. It's going to take 2 or 3 years for it to bounce back properly, But as long as Liverpool win the league and the League of Ireland, is okay, and all the teams can settle themselves and everything is good, then I think we're all happy on this call as well.
How do you rate your Danish and Polish football?
My knowledge in Polish football?
No, just how do you rate the standard of, say, football, Danish and Polish football?
The difference between Danish and Polish football?
Oh, the standard of their leagues, how much would you rate it?
I actually saw Warsaw play a couple of years ago. I saw them play Krakow, Warsaw, or I don't know. It was Warsaw anyway, and I saw them play Barcelona a couple of years ago. Barca beat them 4-0, but they weren't too bad. This was like 2009 Barcelona. And Danish teams, what they have, that Michelin and Copenhagen. So I know it's not the worst.
But just if you don't get your closest rating there, to resume later this month as well, so at least there's some kind of decent standard of football there. Just one thing about Michelin could be a little bit interesting about the League of Ireland behind closed doors and funds and all that. Like, some clubs aren't going to be too bad with this in terms of gate receipts and that, because season tickets take up a lot of them. Like, for instance, someone like Bohemians, where 90% of people that fill out their games, they're season ticket holders, so they're probably okay financially now. But what was to happen, say, now if the season then has to go ahead behind closed doors and all that? Like, they're going to then find themselves in a tricky scenario situation, because there's then going to have to be refunds and all that. Like, so games don't resume in that sense. Like, you can see clubs are maybe okay like that because they have a high volume of season tickets, and then they're going to run themselves into issues as well.
No,
I think,
yeah.
I think clubs do have to deal with their situation differently. I don't think it's like, where in other leagues in Europe, even the smaller leagues, where the league is making a decision and everyone is following it. I think in Ireland it's quite different, where every club kind of has to look out for themselves at the moment. And it's obviously every club is local, it's different. It's, everyone has a different fan base, everyone has a different stadium. Like some people, if they want to put it online, they'd have no issue doing a game online. Other clubs wouldn't be able to do that. So I do think that every club needs to be looking out for themselves at the moment and figuring it out. But I think they will. I do think clubs will have plans in place regardless of the decision, because they're smart people. They're good. They're very, very, very well run clubs in Ireland, in fairness to them. So I do think that whatever decision is made as a whole for the league, I think clubs will be ready for whatever that is, because they obviously have been, we've been doing this now for 7 weeks, and that's 7 different weeks of thinking of 7 different scenarios, for what goes with it. So I do think that whatever decision is made, I actually don't worry for the clubs as individuals so much, because of course they're thinking about this nonstop. They're thinking about this 24/7, So it will be interesting to see how clubs do take it differently and what they do with it. But I am looking forward to seeing them all back playing again.
It might be a good chance to kind of, for these League of Ireland clubs to really kind of cement something more solid for themselves in terms of it might be a bit of an acid test. Now, there has been plenty in the past that it hasn't happened, but I mean, we're all in this together. They have all kind of come out in unison saying there needs to be more supports for League of Ireland clubs and a bit more of a solid structure to fall back on. And I think maybe with a bit of a silver lining to this might be that something like that might happen. Obviously, not much of a silver lining, but something small. It could be time for a bit of change at administrative level in the league, but I won't hold my breath either.
Okay, perfect. I think, should we leave it there then, lads? We're an hour and 26 minutes into picking our Ireland team.
A good team.
Yeah, a good team.
A great team. Lads, it was an absolute pleasure talking to you. I miss you. I cannot wait to get back to it. But for the moment, I think this is the way to do it. Unfortunately,
yeah, absolutely.
Thank you everyone for listening in and watching us. And Ger unfortunately didn't take his top off, but you know what?
Yes. We've saved some excitement for the next slide.
We may well be back with our ball 11 as well. So keep an eye on the channel and make sure to subscribe if you haven't. So yeah, that's perfect. Thanks, guys.
Cheers, lads. Keep safe, everyone.
Have a good one, boys.